So my husband, 33M, and I, 30F, had been struggling with conceiving even though we'd been trying for almost a year. We'd been married for 5 years but still didn't have a kid even though we'd been trying for a long time and had even spoken to a lot of doctors, but we were just incompatible. A year and a half back, we decided to opt for surrogacy with no other options left, and my sister, 28F, stepped up to be the surrogate because she needed the money. My sister and I were close and I thought it would be for the best, so I agreed to let her carry our baby, not knowing how that decision would backfire. The process was successful. Things have been really good for the past 9 months. My sister moved in to live with us and has been staying in the guest room. 3 days back, I came back home early because I wanted to surprise my sister with chicken soup from a restaurant really far away that she'd been craving for a couple of days. I made no noise while entering the house, and when I opened the guest room door to surprise her, I found her in bed with my husband, giggling and cuddling. I don't remember what I said or did in the immediate aftermath and just blanked out because of what I'd seen. I remember my husband jumping out in his boxers to explain that this was just a one-time thing and it meant nothing, and my sister just sat in bed, refusing to even look at me. It took me a few seconds to recover, but once I came to my senses, I walked out of the house, got into my car, and started driving. I had enough gas in my car to keep me going for a while until I tired myself out and checked into the nearest hotel that I could find. Once I was in my room, I started crying and eventually cried myself to sleep. I had no idea what to do next and didn't even know what to do about the baby that was supposed to be born in a week. I was just lost, so that evening and the next morning, I did absolutely nothing apart from staring at the walls blankly. It was only a call from my mom that made me snap out of my daze. Neither my husband nor my sister had the guts to call me, but I guess my sister had told my mother to check on me, which she did. She hadn't told her the truth about what had happened, though. So when my mom called to ask me my whereabouts, I told her what I'd seen and she was just as shocked as I'd been. She tried to console me, but I ended up crying on the phone yet again because saying it out loud for the first time just made it so much more real. She was patient and understanding, let me cry myself out, and then told me what I needed to hear. At this point, I just had to cut my losses and file for divorce as well as full custody of the baby, if that's what I wanted, and I agreed. I could cry about this later, but I did need to get ahead legally if I wanted to keep my baby. So yesterday, I got in touch with my lawyer and explained the situation to her as well. It was really hard not to break down into tears while recounting what I'd seen, but I did it somehow. I also wanted my money back, everything that I'd invested in my sister right from the first day up until the last. I wanted every single dollar to be accounted for and really hurt her. I work at a high-paying position in a private company and easily make twice the amount that my husband and sister make combined. But it wasn't really about the money, it was about the principle of the thing, and I really wanted to hurt her. She's a dance instructor and doesn't make much, and neither does my husband, who's a freelance journalist. Both of them had been living off of my money and I was glad to spend it on them because I was under the impression that both of them did love me, but that's obviously not true. I'd spent around $200,000 in the past year itself and I wanted all of it back. I didn't care where they'd get it from, but I just wanted it all back because of what they'd put me through. That, plus the divorce and custody battle, was going to cost me heavily, but I didn't care and I just wanted my money and my baby. So I told my lawyer to go ahead and file the petition. That was yesterday, and today, I told my mother about what I planned to do, but surprisingly, she wasn't on board with it. She told me that even though what my sister had done was immoral, it was still wrong to sue her for money because she was still delivering my baby, and receiving a legal notice when you're just a couple of weeks away from giving birth can really mess you up. And I guess she's not entirely wrong. I do want the baby to be happy and healthy, but I also want to get back at my husband and sister and teach them a lesson. My sister most certainly was not in breach of contract because it said nothing about cheating, so I wasn't even sure if I had grounds to sue her because technically, she did fulfill whatever was required of her and carried the baby to term safely and successfully. So Wibta if I sued my sister for cheating with my husband even though she's giving birth in a week? Update 1. So I decided not to sue my sister because she's going to be giving birth in a few days and I want my baby to be healthy, which means that I'll have to ensure my sister is healthy as well and try not to stress her out. This is the only reason I'm not coming after her, for the sake of my baby and nothing else. I did file for divorce though, and also full custody of the child because I don't want them to have anything to do with the baby once he or she is born. I've been living in the hotel for a week now and I've been talking to my mother so that I can keep myself updated on when my sister is going to give birth. She's still not in labor, so I'm guessing she's going to be late, which is fine by me. Right now, I'm only going to deal with my husband and make sure he suffers. I've already filed for divorce and full custody and he's been served as well but hasn't spoken to me yet. Which is okay, I don't care if he talks to me or not, but I do want my house back and I want my $100,000 as compensation, which I'll make sure I get out of him by hook or by crook. I highly doubt he can even afford a decent lawyer without me, so his chances of getting out of paying me back are quite low anyway. He has until the end of this week to vacate my house and get the hell out of there, which I think is fair. I would also kick my sister out, but unfortunately, until the baby is born, I can do nothing. I've told my mom to try and talk to her and get her to move in with mom for a few days until the baby is born, so I'm hoping she takes up that offer and I can finally move back to my own house because I'm getting pretty sick of living at this hotel in the middle of absolutely nowhere. Speaking of my sister, my lawyer had already told me that we can't sue her as a surrogate since she wasn't in breach of contract, but we definitely could sue her for being my husband's affair partner. So after the baby is born, we might take that route, but even then we'll have to wait for a while. It's not like I can take the baby away the second she gives birth. She's the one who's going to be providing milk for the baby as long as it is required, and I just have no idea how I'm going to deal with all of this. It's already exhausting for me to work from home, then talk to my lawyer and build our case, and then talk to my mother regarding how my sister is doing, especially when I've started hating her so much, and then struggle to fall asleep for literally hours because of how worried I am. I occasionally find myself wishing I'd never even found out that my husband had been cheating on me with my sister, because that would have saved me a lot of trouble and heartache, and I probably still would be blissfully unaware. Update 2. I came back home today. Finally, it was empty because my husband had left and so had my sister. She'd moved in with mom for the time being so that she could be watched over and wouldn't end up being on her own whenever she went into labor. She still hasn't, even though it's been a week and a half past the due date. Her OB/GYN says that it's nothing to worry about, but my mom's taking her for a checkup anyway. Her last checkup was almost 2 weeks ago, which was really concerning for all of us involved, but since we're in a really awful situation, our mother has very kindly stepped in to make sure that both her daughters are doing all right, even though my sister's a terrible person for what she did. My husband has also responded to the divorce petition and thankfully isn't contesting it, and neither does he want custody of the baby. But of course, he can't afford to pay me $100,000, so his lawyer wants to negotiate. I'm not open to it obviously because the amount that I quoted is non-negotiable. He can either pay me back in one go or in installments. I'm open to that, but pay me back he must. You can't just have fun with your wife's sister, who happens to be carrying the baby that you wanted to raise with your wife, and then refuses to take accountability when your wife decides to kick you out. Ever since we got married, he'd been living off of my money, but now it was time for him to show me some gratitude. My hands were tied when it came to my sister because of the baby, but I wasn't going to let him off the hook so easily. We still haven't spoken, neither on call nor on text, and absolutely not in person, so I don't know what's going on in his head right now, but I'd like to find out. He hasn't even apologized for what he did, and neither has my sister, but it doesn't matter. I don't think it would have made much of a difference even if they were sorry. It still wouldn't change what they'd done, and they couldn't undo the damage that they'd already caused. No matter what they said or did now, it wouldn't make me feel any better. I'm just trying to stay strong for when the baby comes, because otherwise, I have pretty much nothing going on for me at the moment. My marriage is over, I have no relation with my sister anymore, and all my friends feel bad for me. This started off so well, but now it's nothing short of a nightmare. Update 3. So my sister went into labor. It's been about 4 hours and there's still a while to go for the baby to be born. We're in the hospital right now and I'm waiting outside the room for a while. My mother called me when the contractions started, and within an hour, we were all on our way to the hospital. I didn't know if my husband was going to show up or not because we hadn't talked yet, but that was the last thing on my mind anyway. It was very awkward to see my sister in the flesh after almost 2.5 weeks, but I had to power through it. My mother was the one holding her hand and comforting her while I just tried my best not to break down. I know she was the one going through the physical pain, but this wasn't easy for me, and then, an hour ago, my husband finally showed up. I didn't know if he was here for the baby or my sister, but if he wasn't fighting for the custody of the child, then he was definitely here for my sister. As soon as he entered the room, I left because I just couldn't stand to be in the same room as him at any cost. So I left the room and have been waiting outside since. This is a lot more emotionally draining than what I'd expected, and honestly, I don't know how to feel about any of this. All I want is for my baby to be born healthy. I don't even know what I'm gonna do when she actually goes to the next stage of labor. According to the rules of the hospital, only one person is allowed to be in the room while my sister gives birth. I don't know who it's going to be. Under usual circumstances, it would have been me since I wanted to be the first one to hold the baby, but I don't know if I have it in me right now to be holding my sister's hand and encouraging her through childbirth, knowing that she'd been having an affair with my husband. I know my mother will be up for it, but I wanted to be there when the baby is born. I don't know whether my husband would want to be in the room or not. I'm sure that he would want to be there for my sister since it appears that they're interested in each other and it isn't just a one-time thing like my husband had said. But I wouldn't want him to be in the room when my baby is born, and I'm even willing to fight him over it. It's just been 4 hours into labor and we still have a long way to go right now, so my emotional state is probably only going to get worse here onwards. At least ranting here made it a little easier to process. Update 4. Hello, everyone. I'm here after almost 4 days. The baby was born at almost 2 in the morning 4 days ago and was in perfect health. I have a son now. I decided to suck it up and be in the room during the birthing process because after all, no matter what had happened in the past, this kid was mine. I was his mother, and if not biologically, I was still going to be there for him in every other way. It was hard, but I managed to put my personal feelings aside and told my mom and husband that I'd be there for my sister in the room when she gave birth. My husband tried to argue, but I told him that since he was going to terminate his parental rights over the baby anyway, maybe he should just shut the hell up and leave us alone. His girlfriend was my sister, so I think I'd deal with the situation a lot better than he would. He couldn't argue with that, so he let me stay in the room, and while it was awkward initially, we overcame that together for the sake of the baby. And honestly, I don't think my sister was in any condition to think about how bad things were between us and just accepted the emotional support, regardless of who it came from. I was the first person to hold my son, but then my sister held the baby for a while for the skin-to-skin contact. My husband didn't care about the baby and was only bothered about my sister, so I guess for the past 9 months, he'd only been interested in taking care of my sister and not the baby. He wanted to be a good boyfriend, not a good father. It was hurtful, but at least it was over. We didn't speak about the divorce at the hospital, but we're supposed to meet with a mediator for the settlement negotiations to commence in a few days. I don't know what's going to happen then, and I honestly don't feel like getting into a drawn-out legal battle right now. Currently, my son is living with me and my mom's having the milk sent to my house, but I think I might switch to formula soon enough. I don't know if I'm going to sue my sister or not, to be very honest. I've been thinking about it and it just doesn't seem worth it because now, I have what I wanted and she's the reason I have a son. I know she ruined my marriage, but honestly, she couldn't have ruined it if it was really that good. I don't want to use my son as an excuse, but honestly, I just want to spend all my time with him now. Revenge is the last thing on my mind right now, so I don't know, I might not go through with the lawsuit. I'm just lost on what I should do, very honestly. My emotions are all over the place and I don't know anyone who's ever been in a situation even remotely similar to this, so I don't know what the right thing to do would be either. My lawyer is ready to go through with whatever I want, but that's the problem here, I really don't know what I want. I want my husband to feel bad and I want my sister to regret what she did, but not at the cost of my time with my son. I also don't need the money back because, like I said, I lead a nice life, but it would be great to have it back. I don't know. I'm just not in the right headspace anymore. Update 5. It's been almost a week since I've had my son, and right now, my life is just all about him. I have no time to think about anyone else or anything else, so I've decided to put the settlement on hold. We're still going through with the divorce, but we'll talk about the settlement later. And I'm not going after my sister, at least not right now. I've just put it all on hold for the sake of my son, and even if I don't get my money back, I'll be okay with it because my first priority is my baby. My mother sometimes visits to help me out, and she told me that my sister moved out of her place and moved in with her husband and my in-laws. So this affair must have started a while back, and my in-laws probably knew about it too, because otherwise, I can't imagine them just letting my husband move back in with his new girlfriend. They took several months to accept me, so it seems unlikely that they just let them move in without any questions. I didn't care about them or what they did anymore, though. I'd severed all ties with them, and since I had my son with me, I wanted nothing to do with my sister either. She's a horrible person who screwed me over for literally no reason other than, well, she could. And my husband is an equally crappy person who threw aside 5 years of marriage for no reason. They deserve each other. I'm gonna make sure they don't get any visitation rights because they don't deserve to have any access to me or my wonderful little boy. They've proven that they're just not good enough for us and never will be. That's all the revenge that I need. I'm done thinking about them and what they did. I just want to move on with my life and be the mother that my son needs. I'm no longer a good wife or a good sister, now I'm just a mother and that's it. I just have to wait 6 months and then I'll be out of this marriage for good. Update 6. Hello. I'm back here after really long, but hey, you can't exactly blame me because I was busy with my son. He's almost 8 months old now and is a total blast to hang out with. I honestly have more fun spending time with him than I do with my friends. I know it's kind of weird, but well, it is what it is. I'm also a divorced woman, so that's yet another thing I'm so thrilled about. Yeah, I finally got rid of it. Deadbeat, loser, cheater of a husband. I didn't get back the $100,000 that I'd wanted, but at least I did get back $50,000, which is still something, and I think the poor guy is suffering enough. I heard from a couple of common friends that he was struggling to find a place to live. He was still staying with his parents, but his girlfriend, my sister, and his parents were not getting along well, and my sister was bugging him to find a new place. But he couldn't afford to move out just now since he had the lawyer to pay for, and let's not forget the $50,000 that I received. I don't need it, but it's really satisfying to know that life is punishing him for screwing me over. And my sister isn't doing much better either since she'd quit her job when she became a surrogate, but after that, she'd made absolutely no attempts to find another job and was living off my ex-husband's money. Well, I can't say I expected any better from the two of them. At least I'm doing well in life even though they tried hard to ruin mine. Work is great and I alternate between working from home and going to the office because I want to spend as much time as I can with my son. Once my maternity leave ended, things got a little busy for me, so I had to hire a nanny. When I'm not home, it's usually my mom and my nanny taking care of my son. I'm going to take on a new project in a few weeks though, which means late nights, so I'm trying to get as much time with my son as I can before that starts, while also simultaneously getting him used to going to sleep without me. It's hard, but it has to be done. I've also begun therapy to deal with all the stuff that has happened in the past year or so. I couldn't afford to be depressed or let these things bother me, especially when I had my son to think of and my work to look forward to. I'd say therapy has considerably improved my lifestyle, and the love and support that I've received from everyone in my life has also taught me that I'm not really alone, even if I think so. My mom's been wonderful and my friends have been supportive of me as well. Also, you guys have only had kind things to say to me and I've been overwhelmed with the messages and comments that people have sent in response to this post. Thank you so much. I really feel like I'm doing much better now and will remain on this track. Now on to the next story. Story 2. Discovered that my wife cheated on me with our son's doctor, but I caught them red-handed and did this. When our marriage came to an end, my wife was 37, working as a physical therapist for 5 years. I was 35. We were married for 11 years. We were both content without bringing children into the world. We just started going through the process of becoming adoptive parents, but that would never happen for us. I was proud of her for how hard she worked. She loved her job, and I never expected her to do anything she'd be ashamed of. One day, she came home early. I was off work that day for some reason, and she looked devastated. I asked her what was wrong, but she didn't want to talk about it right away. When she did talk to me, it was like she rehearsed what to tell me. She said her boss noticed she had accumulated a large amount of vacation time. She pretty much ordered her to take a paid vacation. I didn't understand what was so sad about that, but I did know my wife loved her job and felt restless at home. She'd usually clean or keep herself busy when she had to be home, but this time she stayed in bed. She could barely move. I knew something was wrong, but she wouldn't talk to me. I got the mail and found something alarming. It was a letter to my wife, explaining the reason for her immediate termination. I was shocked. I read on to find that not only was she fired, she was being sued in court. I was so confused. What was happening? I walked like a zombie into our bedroom, finding my wife lying awake in bed, staring at the ceiling. I threw the papers at her and asked for an explanation. Once she gathered them up, she started hyperventilating. Once she calmed down, she probably figured I was going to find out anyway, so she told me what happened. 8 months ago, she'd gotten a patient to work with, who was in a dirt bike accident. He was learning how to walk again, basically, and couldn't use his hands for anything either. She had fed him, spoke with him, and really gotten to know him. She helped him to go to the bathroom and shower, and when he asked her to help him with something else that wasn't allowed, she did. I was instantly heartbroken. She was mine, and I was hers. By helping this guy, she sacrificed her career and marriage. What's worse is he was married too. His wife was the one suing my wife and her employer, maybe because he felt bad about it and told her. I couldn't believe it. She begged me to stay with her because she needed me now more than ever. She didn't love App, she knew that, she just felt bad for him as his caretaker. I reminded her that the vows we took meant she would be my wife and only help me with things like that. The same was expected of me, for her. She took advantage of the trust she had as a physical therapist and had sex with her vulnerable patient. For all I knew, she instigated it. She just admitted she spoke with him and got to know him well. Was that her way of telling me she fell in love? His wife didn't deserve this betrayal either, probably while she stood by his side during the long recovery. My wife had a very hard time ahead of her, but I wasn't going to make it any easier. I moved out, waiting for all this to settle before I filed for divorce. After she was found guilty and in a whole heap of trouble, it was easy for me to win more favor. She owes a ton of money and can no longer practice physical therapy. I don't know how or if she's moved forward in life. She called everyone she ever met or came in contact with to ask for help and was met with a ton of rejections and criticism. She pretty much fell off the face of the earth after that. I don't know if she managed to pay off all that money, or if she was arrested. I never wanted to look into it and find out. By the time I could move back into our house, it was like a tomb of old memories, frozen in a time when nothing was wrong. It was scary. I had help from friends and family to get rid of all that stuff, and put the house up for sale. With the profits from that, I bought a nicer house, on land with horses. I grew up with horses, so it really feels like home. I also decided I wanted my home, horses, and self to become a haven for a child in need. Since my wife abandoned me before we were able to adopt, I did it myself. I adopted a 10-year-old girl, who's now 15. I've kept very busy living life on a farm, and with my daughter's help, I give horseback riding lessons. It's like I've lived more than one life, and became a better person after my failed marriage. I'm proud I made it through, and I'm happy my ex suffered through the reality of her choice.